Yeah, it was good, Joe. We're gonna get right into it. It's day 26 of my 100 video, 100-day challenge. Like I said, this is a challenge to myself. I really want to get into this YouTube thing. So I'm just working forward. So I was watching my guy old Shay Duke Jackson today, and he brought up an Amber Rose situation where her son, her 9-year-old son, I believe, found out, well, at least he was 9, when he found out his mother was on OnlyFans. And, they had a little discourse. And O'Shea brought up the fact that men, their first impression of women is their mother. Their first actual female experience or interaction is with their mother. And that tends to set the tone for going forward in relationships. And I would have to definitely agree with that. I would have to definitely agree with that. And, my mother, though, I love her, of course, she's my mother by default. and as I say about my own kids, I don't like how they came, but I love that I have who I have. I wish I could provided a better life or better structure. Luckily I'm not too much of a airhead, but for the most part, I'm not bad. And as a consolation to them, I told them, I said, look, you got more than what I got, because I have never spent a day with my father doing anything. I only remember passing him once, seeing him, and I can't even recollect. Well, yeah, I don't even know what he looked like. I just know of a time of perhaps when I was 10 and me and my mother's on the street and he happened to cross, because he didn't live too far from us. Actually, a couple of blocks away, he lived with his family. But that's a different story. But a different chapter in the story. But like O'Shea was saying, most of our first impression is our mothers. And as you get older, as I show my kids, my younger ones, I'm sure as they will get older, they will begin to question, like, why do me and my brother have this mother, and my other brother that's his mother, and my sister, that's his mother, and my other brother, that's his mother. Eventually these questions are going to come up. Now, luckily for my two youngest, they see that they are growing up in a home where both parents are there and married and so forth and so on. Luckily, my kids who I had earlier, if not most of their life, all their life, they've always seen me with one woman, whereas their mothers, they've seen with many men. But at least with me, they see me with just one woman. They will always remember that. Now, I've never had that opportunity. And I've seen firsthand, like I said, I have 6 of us that were under the same roof for the most part, even though we have different ages and some came and left. But at the end of the day, you're talking about 6 kids and possibly 6 baby daddies, and never mind the abortions, right? So that impression, and as they say, either, growing up, either you're trying to replace your mother, by having someone mother you as your mother did, or perhaps trying to find that motherly love that you didn't get. You're steady trying to fill that gap. Now, I don't know how true that is, but what I do know is I have yet to latch on to the love that I deserve. I'm sure there have been women that have come along in my life that would have loved me properly, but for whatever reason, I didn't latch onto it, or didn't appreciate it at the time, or wasn't ready for it at the time. And, some might say I'm damaged goods because of my experience growing up and seeing things that I'm sure my mother doesn't know I saw. Things that she don't even remember that has been very damaging to me. And so to come from that, seeing that from my own mother, hearing a couple of things that, and I understand, like my immediate grandmother, my maternal grandmother, she's always been there, so I have nothing against her, but I've heard a couple of stories, but I love my grandfather though. I love my grandfather. That's hands down. And I feel like, I'm very protective, and I wish I spent more time. But when your life is out of order and things aren't presented properly, you don't take advantage of those times. You're so busy running around and being in chaos and distraction that you're not taking advantage of those moments that really count. Those interactions and relationships that really count. And it's because you really have a effed up start. And now that I'm older and I look back and I put all these pieces together, you realize you really realize how bad of a hand you've been dealt. Now some other people have worse hands, but in your case, this is the hand you're dealt, and this is what you got to deal with. And a lot of my woman troubles have started from my mother. We never had a great relationship growing up. Now that people are a little bit older, things are more tolerable, or at least on my end, I'm more patient. There's things I'm sure she thought, one, she thinks it's because things have come up in conversation. She thinks they're funny. I don't find them very funny. I found them very detrimental and very insensitive. And so, you spent these decades, this waste of time, trying to fix this hole and not necessarily knowing what's going on. And then you come across the women that you are dealing with, or who choose to deal with you. You're moving on one agenda, regardless of you recognize what the agenda is, and they're moving on a whole other agenda. Because you're so blinded by what you inherited that there's this whole other thing that's happening in the background that's about to F you up a little bit more. And they know this, and it's calculated, but they'll put it on you. Society, media, your mother, your aunties, everybody says how men are no good, this, that, and the third, while all the while they have all this stuff working in the background, and propaganda has you carrying this bag. And if it wasn't for the time that we're having now, like with the Kevin Samuels and the Dr. BOAs and the Black Rams, the Maury Poviches, the Jerry Springers, you really see that we've been bamboozled. We've been bamboozled. Like I said, I watch Henry Louis Gates. I think the show's called Finding Your Life or Discover Your Life, that's on PBS. And story after story, you find out grandma has been getting it in. When they can't track you on paper, they run DNA tests. And there's too many tests that have come up very frequently in these shows where their dad or their grandfather's not their grandfather, and come to find out through DNA and census and this, that, and the third, there's someone who's within a 5-mile radius grandma's been sneaking off with. So this like they said, prostitution is the oldest profession. They ain't never lie. Men have been carrying, black men specifically have been carrying a bag of guilt. And I ain't with it no more. I ain't with it no more. This is why, I really focus on saying, young men, even my compadres, work on yourself, man. Work on yourself. So at least when you find a partner who you might deem worthy, you can demand the best, and like I say, be the change you want to see. And that's something that I've worked on the last 5, 6, 7 years, to be the change that I want to see. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been out here like putting in work, doing a lot of damage, but not knowing where it's coming from, where the motivation is, what it is that I'm escaping to, what it is that I'm trying to cloud why am I trying to be distracted? So once I started working on myself, maybe not partying as much or drinking now. I still love my cognac now. We're going to have cognac and conversations going down the line, but coffee, cognac, and because I like a good cup of coffee too. It's all going to depend on the guests. But nonetheless, though, I realized I've been carrying this guilt. I realized that the people that I've been relating with had their own agendas. They had their own BS that I got caught up into. So I said, I need to, before I start demanding of others, I have to work on myself. I have to bring my value up. I have to clean up my mess. So that way going forward, I have the right to demand certain things, to put demands on certain people, because this is how I'm coming. You know what I'm saying? And I need you to match my energy. You know what I'm saying? None of this, what you bring into the table, I am the table and all that. I don't care about that. Because the way I feel is that, everybody has a role to play. And when you connect with somebody, your role might change. You don't know what your role is. But what it is you're willing to grow, your willingness to work, your willingness to cooperate, you understand, to move as a unit. And that's what I think we kind of miss it. I don't think nobody really wants to be alone. I want to have a partner who I find attractive and will always be attracted to for the most part. Even though I know beauty is fleeting, but being attracted to somebody, being perfectly imperfect, someone that you can have fun with, and sometimes a conversation is just attractive. Words are attractive, or words can be ugly. It doesn't always have to be a big butt and a smile. You know what I mean? But the change definitely has to start with you. You have to be the change that you want to see, and then going forward, you could demand the best because you are the best. You understand what I'm saying? And a lot of that, just to bring it back around, does start with the effed up relationships we've been having with our mothers. And then because her thing is out of order, because my mother came from a 2-parent home. Though it wasn't perfect, she did come from a 2-parent home. What ends up happening is, especially with a lot of these women, a lot of B-dubs, as my man Black Ram would say, they play around all these years, having all these baby daddies, and then now the kids are forced to be, especially sons, to be son husbands. You know what I'm saying? I remember, I'm going to tell you a quick story, I got to get up out of here. But I remember me being probably 25 and my brother being, no, I had to be about 15 and my brother being, 10, about 2021, and my brother being 10, 11 years old. And he was always up under my mother. And my mother used to always shun him away, push him away, physically, like, get off me. And I said, watch, when you get older, because me and my mother used to battle all the time. She used to call me a pissy ass kid because I was always vocal. And I had told her one time too, don't get mad at me for your poor choice in men. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it was her choice to deal with a married man. But I digress. So my younger brother was always up under my mother, and she used to always push him away. He just wanted love. And same thing with me. I used to cry when I was 8, 9, 10 years old, say nobody loves me, and I probably still do it passively now. But that's why I'm out here trying to find my tribe. But my mother she just would ignore me. And then my younger brother came along, and he used to always want to be up under her wing. She used to always like, get off me. And I told her, I said, watch, when you get older, he's going to be the one who's going to look after you. I told her, I said, you shouldn't do that. He's the one who's going to be looking after you. Because my other brother, the youngest one, he was spoiled. She used to favor him a lot. And my older brother, she used to favor him a lot. The oldest and the youngest. Then I have a middle brother who just does his thing. But my younger one, who's 10 years younger than me, I was like, yo, you're going to need him. All he wanted was to be up under her and just hug him, like just love on him. And here it is. How old is he now? 30 years later. She lives not too far from him. Because we all have baby daddies, and either they passed away or moved on, or whatever the case is. She doesn't have a life partner. All her sons have to step in. You know what I mean? And it's not because of, our dad, he took it as far as he could take it, passed, and then we're here to carry her along the way. She made poor decisions all the way. And now we have to pick it up from here. Now, that doesn't say I don't love my mother, but I have to ask, did you prepare for these times? Were you considerate of our lives? The lives you are bringing into this world? You know what I'm saying? I have to question that. And then the raising of it all, making sure that we're all loved equally. Now, you can't, every child is different, so every child is going to, it takes a different plan. But I'm going to tell you that I don't think I've had the best experience. I don't think I've been provided the tools to have a better life. As they say, I picked up my bootstraps and made it happen. And I'm still trying to figure it out. Still figuring it out. You understand what I'm saying? So the problems that I've had with women, and like I say, it ain't perfect now, but I realize I need to maintain my sanity and really be accountable for what, if I don't learn nothing else from my wife, at the end of the day, the question that she's always brought up, what have you done? Because at a certain point, yeah, you know, your mother didn't provide this, that, and the third. But at a certain point, when you become an adult, now it's your responsibility to make sure that certain things happen or certain things don't happen, that you're taking certain precautions. And you know, she was right about that. I have to be accountable for my actions from that point on to today. But have I been handed what they call a bill, you know, a bad hand? I think so. I think so. I'll put it like this. I wasn't handed the best hand. And I kind of, like I said, I've been failing forward my life, you know, through the rest of my life. And it hasn't been to the last, about the last 7 years, I've been really trying to hone in what it is I am and what I am trying to become. Who am I? You know what I mean? What trouble do I want to get into? And what trouble I don't want to get into? You know what I'm saying? But a lot of it did start, my woman problems did start with my mother. And recognizing that, you know, going forward, and the earlier you recognize that, you can realize, hold up, maybe, you know, maybe I've been living in dysfunction and not really realizing it. Or I'm living in the dysfunction and not knowing where it's coming from. And I dare to say that it started with being in a single parent home with 6 siblings and 6 baby daddies. Though my mother would probably say 5, but I'm saying 6. In the time of Maury, I'm saying 6. Though she won't admit it. Nonetheless, with that being said, become the best version of yourself. Work on yourself. Meditate. It's a day-to-day, never-ending process. Be the change that you want to see. And most of all, be proactive, be productive, and most definitely be positive. It's your boy, Brian R. Keefe. Also, please subscribe. I keep forgetting. I just get to talking. But subscribe. And we're going to, like I said, there's things I got coming up this weekend, so I got to, you know, do my thing. But next week, we're definitely going to get into it because I want to work on a whole new setup and go through some reviews. So please subscribe. I see y'all tomorrow. I will definitely want to talk about, I want to get into the son-husband syndrome. Because that's a big one for me. That's a very, very, very big one for me. That whole son-husband syndrome is unfair to these young men growing up. Nonetheless, though, it's your Brian Keefe, man. Please subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.